In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to drape a convertible collar. A convertible collar is one that sits up on the neck, rises here at the back, folds down over itself, curves around the neck, and starts spreading out to be a flat collar here. So it rises in the back, spreads out flat here. That's a convertible collar. Measure the mannequin to determine the size of muslin to cut. Measure from the center back around the neck to the front neck opening, add a few inches, and then guesstimate about how tall or wide that rise and then fall of the collar is, and add several inches, maybe 5 or 6 inches to that. Because we're going to be draping in a curve, you need that to be fairly wide. Once you have your muslin cut to size and the center back pressed under 1 inch, then you need to start by drawing a cross grain line, the length of the muslin, about 1 inch up from the raw edge, and then another cross grain line about 4 inches from center back, parallel to the original cross grain line. And then we're ready to drape. To start draping, place your muslin at the center back of the neck, aligning the cross grain line, the first cross grain line, with the neckline. Put a pin there. Put a pin, in this case, about 1 inch up. That's because I was looking at the designer's sketch, and this is not a very tall roll to this collar. So this muslin is going to, when it's a finished collar, will go up the neck and fold back on itself, creating that roll. But we aren't there yet. Start to clip around the seam allowance so that it can spread the muslin along that line, and pin to start creating that collar shape. Here where we have this second cross grain line, we're going to start edging away from our first line and start to use our second line as our seam line. There's going to be a blending and a transition here. It's going to be awkward because we have all of this fabric. So draping collars is one of those things that you definitely do by trial and error, and you sort of inch your way toward it. I like to get rid of some of this by clipping into it. Clearly, looking at our designer's sketch, this collar is not going to go all the way out to the shoulder. The collar goes only about 2.5 or so inches. So I'm going to start clipping that way. Also, come back here at center back and check. We're going to be cutting this collar on a fold, and so this is going to, this center back on the part that folds down needs to be parallel to the center back. You may need to force that in the pinning a little bit. That's also where the clipping helps that start to hug the neck without binding, and can spread over the shoulder as it starts to come around. You may find that this is so large you need to start cutting away so that you can really start seeing what you are starting to create, and that's just fine. Muslin is cheap. If you cut too much, you can always drape a new collar. That is essentially the convertible collar. It rises at the back, comes down, so it's a collar stand, hugs the neck around the side, and then comes down and starts to lay flat. You can start analyzing the designer's sketch and sketching in the finished width of the collar at this point.